On November 4th, 2019, former boy band member and current fashion icon Harry Styles posted an image to Twitter. Within 24 hours, it racked up over 500,000 likes. It was the cover to his long-awaited sophomore album, and fans dissected every last detail, from the pink and blue color palette, which was used for the studio backdrop, his custom Gucci outfit, and was even painted on his fingernails, to this disembodied hand in the corner, which belongs to Tim Walker, the photographer. And finally, the scandalous release date, Friday, December 13th, his ex-girlfriend Taylor Swift's birthday. But zoom out to the whole image and you'll see something that extends far beyond the world of Harry Styles fandom. This circular photograph is the latest in a long line of album covers that have that same warped composition. This is the story of music's obsession with the fisheye lens. In 1906, renowned physicist Robert W. Wood was in his lab at Johns Hopkins University with a bucket full of water, a pinhole camera, mirrored glass, and a lot of light. He wanted to see if he could create an image of the world from the perspective of a fish, whose view from underwater compresses the entire horizon. This experiment might seem unusual, but Wood was a professor of optical physics, and he dedicated his career to inventing unconventional tools to study light. From developing this disc whose microscopic components help determine the age of stars, to inventing this toy, which according to the patent created grotesque images of people's faces through a series of perfectly placed mirrors.
I first heard of him as being sort of an offbeat kind of guy that often had a deep insight into things in kind of a quirky way.
That's John Beaver, a photographer who is also a professor of physics and astronomy.
That basic diagram of the rays coming in at different angles, and I teach that all the time. It's in every beginning physics book. But the idea of making a camera out of that, I had never heard that Robert Wood had done that.
In this paper, Wood detailed what he wanted to see. He said the circular picture would contain everything embraced within an angle of 180 degrees in every direction, i.e. a complete hemisphere. And luckily, he left us with a set of instructions. Diameter of the paper. What's that? Open only in photographic darkroom. I feel like I'm about to murder somebody. Let's go get some water. Anchors away. Let's get another one of those clamps. In case of contact, flash scan our eyes with water for at least 15 minutes. That's fine. Oh no, it's not because it's behind the pinhole. I honestly have no idea how the hell he did this.
I think there's an easy way for you to do it now that he couldn't have done. You can just put a waterproof GoPro in the bottom of a bucket.
God damn it. Can we just cut to the pictures? This is a picture he took from under a bridge. This is a lineup of men, and this is what a fish might see if all those men were looking down at it from above the surface of a pond. Soon, researchers and scientists built on Wood's idea. From 1915 through the 1930s, it was the fields of meteorology and astronomy that drove the development of a camera lens that could capture that coveted fisheye perspective. And on the eve of World War II, German inventors filed a patent for a lens which they then shared with the Japanese company Nikon. The lens used the same principles as Wood's water experiment.
You can see it right in his diagram with the bucket. As the light rays come in at a steep angle, they come out at a less steep angle. And so light rays that are coming from huge angles are compressed onto the picture.
In 1957, Nikon produced their first special order fisheye camera. Factoring in inflation, it was a $27,000 piece of gear. Though they were still primarily used for scientific research, a few caught the attention of magazine and newspaper photographers. This 1957 issue of Life magazine shows a fisheye view of a Senate hearing. A few months later, that same camera photographed a pole vaulter mid-jump. And in 1962, 60 years after Robert Wood's original experiment, Nikon's first consumer-grade fisheye lens hit the market. And it became a pop culture phenomenon. It captured baseball stadiums, shark cages, political conventions, the Apollo trainings and launches, and protests. It was, and always has been, a handy tool to capture tight quarters, as well as huge spaces. But perhaps its greatest strength was making rock stars appear larger than life. When the Beatles kicked off the British invasion in the mid-1960s, the fisheye lens was uniquely suited to document the insanity. Here they are at a Miami press conference and during a TV performance. The lens's warped perspective reflected the trippiness of the psychedelic era, including at the Woodstock Music Festival. This is jazz musician Sam Rivers' 1965 album Fuchsia Swing Song, and it's one of the earliest Fisheye album covers. A few months later, the Byrds released Mr. Tambourine Man. Over the next few years, Fisheye album art cemented itself in music. The most common format was this: a giant circular fisheye lens portrait of the artist or band, with typography above and below it. In more illustrated approaches, the font wraps fully around the image, and some exclude the artist altogether, opting to show an interesting scene or landscape.
Oh, I just thought of a Fisheye album cover. Do you know Hergus Ridge by Mike Oldfield?
No, but I'm going to look it up right now. Oh, wow. That's really cool. The fisheye lens was a go-to piece of gear for music photographers and filmmakers by the end of the 1970s. It was there for concerts, television performances, and photo shoots. So by the time MTV launched in 1981, it was pretty much inevitable that the super wide-angle lens would play a huge role in music videos. It could get super close to a performer while still capturing the space around them. This is a music video for the Beastie Boys track Shake Your Rump. It was shot with at least 3 cameras equipped with a fisheye lens. The fisheye worked for every genre, from 60s hippies to alt-rock. But hip-hop had a sense of humor, and it was in your face, which helped turn the fisheye into one of the genre's signature looks. And in the 90s, that's thanks to director Hype Williams. From 1991 to 1999, he directed dozens of music videos for top artists, and many of those prominently featured a fisheye perspective. Busta Rhymes, TLC, and of course, Missy Elliott. The list goes on. And let's not forget those fisheye album covers. The fisheye lens is no doubt a novelty. When you see a photo taken with it, your eye will likely first focus on the highly distorted style of the image, and then register what's in it. But that undersells how timeless and useful of a tool it actually is. One generation might see it as a psychedelic photography trope, another a 1990s hip-hop throwback. If you're an astronomer, it helps you track clouds moving across the atmosphere and the terrain on the surface of Mars. And if you're as curious as Robert Wood, it'll let you see the world from the point of view of a fish.